Today is Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024. It's approximately 10:02 a.m. This is an adjudicatory hearing before the Massachusetts Gaming Commission relative to the suitability of Michael Capetta as an individual qualifier to MGM Resorts International, referred to as MGM, which is a parent company of the Region B gaming licensee Blue Tarp Redevelopment, LLC, also known as MGM Springfield. My name is Jordan Maynard. I'm the interim chair of the commission. I am joined today by my colleagues, Commissioner Eileen O'Brien, Brad Hill, and Nikisha Skinner. The entire commission will preside over the hearing and decision of this matter. The hearing will be conducted in accordance to 205 CMR 101.01, the informal fair hearing rules outlined in 801 CMR 1.02, and Chapter 30A of the general laws. I would also like to notify everyone that this proceeding is being recorded. A notice of hearing dated May 29th, 2024 was issued to the parties. The notice identifies the issues that this hearing is intended to address. Specifically, the commission will focus its review on whether the facts presented constitute clear and convincing evidence that the suitability standards set out in General Law Chapter 23K, Sections 12 and 16, and 205 CMR 115.01, subsection 1, have been met. There are two parties before us today, and each are represented by legal counsel. I will ask that Mr. Kennedy and then Mr. Nozel please identify yourself and your teams and advise the commission as to whom everyone represents as applicable. Let's start with Mr. Kennedy. Good morning.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. Nathaniel Kennedy on behalf of the IEB. Present today, also IEB Director Caitlin Monahan, IEB Interim Chief Enforcement Counsel Kathleen Kramer, Trooper Julio Perez of the Massachusetts State Police, and Financial Investigations Chief Monica Chang. Thank you for the time and opportunity to present the IEB's report in the matter of Mr. Capetta.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Nozel.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members of the Commission. Jed Nozel on behalf of Mr. Capetta in his capacity as a qualifier for MGM Resorts International. I'm also joined by Attorney Gus Kim, MGM Vice President and Legal Counsel for the Northeast Division.
Thank you. Thank you both. At the conclusion of my opening comments, this proceeding will commence with opening remarks. Each party will be offered an opportunity to make a statement, though it's not required. After opening statements, we will move to the presentation of the evidence in this matter. The IEB will be called upon to present its findings as described in the investigation report. Any commissioner may ask any question of anyone presenting any information at any point during or following this presentation. At the conclusion of the IEB's presentation, Mr. Capetta, through counsel, will be afforded an opportunity to ask any questions of any individual who presented information on behalf of the IEB relative to any matter addressed in the investigation report or to which he or she spoke. At the conclusion of the IEB's presentation, Mr. Capetta will be given the same opportunity to make a presentation. He may call any witnesses and present any other evidence he desires. The Commission has directed in the notice of hearing that at minimum, Mr. Capetta be available if called upon to testify at this hearing. I'll state for the record, he is here right now. Additionally, the Commission may require any of the IEB investigators to testify as to their findings. Either party may raise any objection it desires at any time. However, the basis for all objections must be clearly stated. Finally, at the conclusion of the presentations of all the evidence, the IEB and Mr. Capetta will be provided an opportunity to make closing remarks summing up their view of the evidence. Again, this is optional. Before we begin, I understand that there are two exhibits for consideration at this hearing that have been exchanged by the parties in advance. Those exhibits are as follows. Exhibit 1 will be the notice of hearing dated May 29th, 2024. Exhibit 2 will be the IEB's investigation report dated June 20th, 2024. Are there any objections to any of these exhibits being marked and entered into evidence by either party?
No objection.
No, Chair, no objections.
All right. Those exhibits shall be admitted into evidence. If either party would like to have any additional documents entered into evidence during the course of this hearing, please ensure that they are properly introduced and marked for the record. The Commission anticipates that its inquiry at this proceeding will be related to the matters addressed in the investigation report and contained in the notice of hearing. If a line of questioning conducted by the Commission moves into an area that has not been included in the report or notice, but that is material to the finding determination of this matter, any party may request a recess in the proceeding to review the issue. The Commission will deliberate privately and make a final decision at the conclusion of the evidentiary portion of the hearing. The decision will be issued as promptly as possible. We will now swear in all the witnesses. Counsel, are there any individuals you anticipate presenting testimony in this matter present on this call?
Yes.
Same for MGM, and that would be Mr. Capetta.
Thank you. If there is anyone who is not present who will later testify, it will be up to you to alert the Commission that they have yet to be placed under oath. Anyone who will be testifying at this proceeding, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you will provide before the Commission at this proceeding will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. I see in the
I believe
affirmative.
Trooper Perez also, if you could acknowledge being sworn, Trooper Perez.
Trooper Perez.
Sorry, just trying to take off mute. Yes.
All right. Thank you. All have responded in the affirmative. Again, if someone else enters in, please let me know. Given the nature of the suitability review, there is necessarily a significant amount of personal or commercially sensitive information that the Commission is being called upon to consider. The public discussion of such information may result in an unwarranted invasion of an individual's personal privacy or may place an entity at a competitive disadvantage if such information were to be publicly disclosed. For the Commission to be able to effectively and diligently execute its legal obligations prior to making a suitability finding, it must be at liberty to fully inquire relative to any of these sensitive matters without compromising the individuals or entities involved. To do otherwise would be, at a minimum, unfair and potentially unlawful. Accordingly, my colleagues and I may elect to exercise the discretion afforded in accordance to 205 CMR 101.01, paragraph 7, to close this proceeding to the public to fully address certain matters. Before we begin, it's my understanding that a pre-hearing conference was conducted with representatives of the applicant, the IEB, and our legal department, at which procedural and evidentiary issues were discussed. Do either of the parties have any preliminary issues or objections they would like to raise at this time?
Just one preliminary issue is that I understand after consultation with Attorney Nossel that we will be stipulating to the report and its contents.
Chair, that's correct. We've had an opportunity to review the report, had an opportunity to make any factual corrections to that report, and we've agreed to stipulate to the report and its findings for the purpose of this hearing.
And that's been marked as Exhibit 2.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy, and thank you, Mr. Nozzle. With that, I'll ask counsel to please proceed with any opening remarks he would like to make on behalf of Mr. Capetta.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be brief, just to thank the Commission for its time today, as well as the work of the IEB over the last several months in conducting this investigation. Mr. Capetta is here today, obviously present, to answer any additional questions that the Commission may have. And with that, I turn it back to the IEB.
Thank you, Mr. Nozzle. You've already stipulated as to Exhibit 2. We will, and I want to mark that here at this juncture, we will now turn to Mr. Kennedy and ask that you make any introductory remarks you would like to make and then you may move straight into your presentation.
Very good. Good morning again, Nathaniel Kennedy on behalf of the IEB. I'd waive an opening remark and I'll move directly into the presentation. First, I'd like to thank Financial Investigation Chief Monica Chang and Trooper Julio Perez for their work on this investigation. Michael Capetta is a qualifier for a Category 1 casino licensee, Blue Tarp Redevelopment, LLC, doing business as MGM Springfield. Mr. Capetta has submitted all of the required forms, complied with all of the IEB's requests for supplemental and updated information during the investigation, and the IEB has interviewed Mr. Capetta and he's been cooperative and forthcoming through the entire process. In keeping with the IEB's established protocols for background reviews of casino qualifiers, we verified his identity, confirmed financial stability and integrity. We've reviewed litigation history, searched criminal history, and verified that there is no prohibited political contributions that were made in Massachusetts. We've conducted checks of open source and law enforcement databases. Mr. Capetta serves as the Senior Vice President of Internal Audit for MGM Resort International, the parent company of Massachusetts Category 1 casino licensee Blue Tarp Redevelopment, doing business as MGM Springfield. Mr. Capetta reports to the Audit Committee and the CFO, Jonathan Halkyard. He has 5 direct reports, 2 vice presidents, 2 executive directors, and 1 administrative assistant. He's responsible for all of the internal audit functions for MGM, as well as the assurance of regulatory compliance for gaming, anti-corruption, and privacy. He's responsible for all of MGM's domestic and international resorts, except for MGM China. Mr. Capetta has previously worked as Vice President of Internal Audit, Executive Director of Internal Audit, Director of Internal Audit, Manager of Internal Audit, and the Supervisor of Internal Audit, as well as Senior Internal Auditor within MGM Resorts International. Mr. Capetta holds a bachelor's of science degree in business administration for management and information systems from the University of Central Florida, as well as an accounting bachelor's of science degree. Mr. Capetta also holds gaming licenses in Nevada and Michigan. His licenses are both in good standing in those jurisdictions. He's also applied for licenses in Mississippi, Maryland, New Jersey, which had been granted. His application for a key employee and track management license in New York was still pending as of May 22nd, 2024. And I'll defer to Mr. Nozel and Mr. Capetta if there's any update on that New York application. The investigation did not uncover any derogatory information that would indicate Mr. Capetta lacks the requisite financial stability, integrity, or background to be deemed suitable in accordance with the criteria listed in Massachusetts gaming law and regulations. The IEB recommends the Commission issue a positive determination of suitability. And with that, that concludes the IEB's presentation for Mr. Capetta's suitability. And I would submit our team for any questions that the Commission may have.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Commissioners, do we have any questions for Mr. Kennedy or anyone else in the IEB relative to this presentation? I'm seeing no. Does Mr. Capetta have any questions for Mr. Kennedy or any of the other members of the IEB relative to this presentation, Mr. Nozel?
We do not. Thank you, Chair.
We will now turn to the presentation by Mr. Capetta. Council, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. We appreciate the opportunity again to be here today. I don't have any direct examination for Mr. Capetta. I think the IAB's very thorough and comprehensive report speak for itself. He is here today. I would like to give him an opportunity to introduce himself, say hello to the Commission, and obviously we'll present him for any questions that the Commission may have.
Thank you, Mr. Nozel. Mr. Capetta.
Hey, good morning, Chair and members of the Commission. I'm Michael Capetta. As you said, I'm the Senior Vice President of Internal Audit for MGM Resorts International. Thank you to the Commission for your time and to the IEB for its thorough investigation. One update, that the track management New York license was granted. The casino license is still pending.
Thank you for addressing that. Commissioners, do we have any questions of Mr. Capetta? Seeing none. Mr. Kennedy, do you have any questions for Mr. Capetta or Mr. Nozel?
I do not.
Right. Now that we have heard all the evidence in this matter, before we move to closing remarks, I'd like to turn to my fellow commissioners once again to make sure that there are no further sensitive or confidential issues anyone would like to explore that would benefit from the closing of this proceeding to the public under our regulations. Commissioners, would we like to close the proceeding? Okay, I'm seeing none.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner
I don't
Skinner.
think there's a need to close the proceeding, but I do have a question. And I would like to direct a question to Nate, if I could. Just regarding the business income that was not reported in 2018. Was Mr. Capetta forthcoming about that during the investigation?
I can jump in on that, Nate. Yes, he was, Commissioner, very forthcoming in explaining what the source of the income was, and then paid the tax as it was assessed and related interest and penalties.
Okay, thank you, Monica. Hi there. I guess I have another question then. Relative to the I guess the business loan in, doesn't say what year, but am I reading that correctly in the report, page 10, under notes, loans, and other receivables, where it says total amount of interest on a $5,000 loan over 2 years, at least, was $3,228?
That is how the report reads, yes, on page 10.
Yes. And so at almost a 65% interest rate, is there any additional information that can be provided relative to that loan? Or I guess a different question would be to IEB, Monica in particular, during the financial investigation. Is there anything that you'd like to comment on relative to that loan in terms of just its terms in general? Is there any inferences that can be drawn, negative or otherwise, relative to that loan?
Yeah, so I can.
Chair, can I interrupt
Yeah.
for just a moment? I'm sorry, Monica, I apologize. I just want to be careful. We're getting into a level of detail regarding personal financial transactions. I just want to be sensitive to that. I don't know what, Investigator Chang's answer will be on that. I just want to note that to the extent that we're going to get into, details of an intimate nature regarding Mr. Capetta's finances, we may need to take that into a confidential session.
Yep. So,
Thank you,
Commissioner
Judge, for
Skinner,
that.
that's why we offered that up. Do we need to enter into confidential session?
Well, I'd like to, and I apologize for not recognizing that this is something that should go into a private session. Thanks, Jed. I think we could all always count on you to make that clear, and we can defer to legal as to whether this is appropriate. But given that the nature of the business involves sports wagering, I'd like to just have some additional detail relative to that transaction.
With respect to going to private session, the commission does have wide discretion to enter private session, Chair Maynard. So if in order to satisfy Commissioner Skinner, we can certainly break out into a private session to address the question fully and then come back to public session.
Thank you, Councilor Stempeck. So I'm going to look to our team that does our IT work, because I'm also thinking about technicality here. Can we be moved into a session or turn off the recording? Are we able to do that, Dave?
We can get you in there. Just give us a second.
Okay. And Justin, just for technical purposes here, would I need a motion from the commissioners relative to the language I read earlier to enter into session, or can we just enter into the session?
During the adjudicatory hearings, you don't need a motion. The commission's empowered to go into private session with very broad authority. So as long as by consensus you are all in agreement, we don't need a formal motion. But I think this qualifies given the personal nature of the question and the details that Councilor Nilsson raised. So I don't think there'd be any need for a formal motion to go into private session.
Thank you, Justin.
Chair, sorry to come back on and contradict myself, but unfortunately, when this meeting was set up, it was not set up with breakout room capacity. So we're unable to enter into a private session at this time. We would have to enter a different meeting to have that conversation.
So let's do this. Let's break for how long will we need, Mills, to get the link around?
Just give us about 5 minutes.
Let's take a quick 5-minute break, if that's okay, Councilor Nozel and Councilor Kennedy. Mm-hmm. We will enter into that session, and then we will enter back into this session to conclude the hearing. All right, everyone, 5 minutes. Let's call it 10:30.
Yeah, look for an email from me. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. I think we can take the screen down, Dave.
All set.
Give everyone a second to get back into this session. So Commissioner Hill, Commissioner Skinner. Let's see, Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Nozel. Just gonna give it one more second. Mr. Kennedy, do we have everyone we need from IEB?
Yes, everyone from IEB is present.
And Mr. Nozel, same?
Same, thanks, Chair.
All right, so we're just continuing this hearing. We just proceeded to confidential questions that we closed the proceeding briefly for. And we're now entering back into this session. With that, we are going to turn to closing remarks. Each parties will be afforded an opportunity to make a statement summing up their position, though they need not do so. Would Mr. Capetta like to proceed with any remarks, Councilor Nozel?
Thanks, Chair. I'll make some brief remarks. Importantly, again, to thank the Commission for its time, the IEB for its comprehensive investigation. You have a report in front of you. And importantly, the IEB has indicated that Mr. Capetta has been fully cooperative through this. The combination of that report and the questions that have been asked and answered here provide for clear and convincing evidence pertaining to Mr. Capetta's suitability for licensure in Massachusetts. Again, we appreciate everyone's time today and look forward to your decision.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Kennedy.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to reiterate that the IEB has conducted a thorough investigation into Mr. Capetta and that we're recommending that the Commission issue a positive determination of suitability. I'd like to thank all the members of the IEB team that conducted this investigation, as well as Mr. Capetta and Attorney Nozel for their transparency and cooperation assisting this process. And finally, thank you, Commission, for your time this morning. And that's all.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor. Unless there are any further matters that the parties or my fellow commissioners would like to address, we will now conclude this portion of the proceeding. Does anyone have anything further?
Nothing from the IEB, no.
Thank you. Mr. Nozel, good?
All set. Thank you, Chair.
All right. The Commission will plan to enter private deliberations after completing the public portion of the hearings of the 3 qualifiers today. We have 3 of these. Now that we've completed the public portion of the hearing for Mr. Capetta, we will plan to move on to the next qualifier hearing for Mr. Kudrowski. Commissioners, we will have to end this virtual